AI will take over. Technology will take over. That's the first thing we kind of have to face in this world. And the title may sound a little bit extreme, but hang on a second. Let me explain myself. I believe we should just go ahead and succumb to our AI overlords pretty much because of not only the drastic rate in which AI is evolving, but just the overall benefits regarding AI and technology. I mean, think about it. If you need anything answered, AI can scour the web and look for almost every source that it can gather to give you the best concise answer. I mean, most of us, or a good majority of us that have connection to internet and cable, use AI in some way, shape, or form, or at least to know about AI. Now, AI has become something that's a major topic, controversy throughout the ages. But I mean, no matter what you think of AI or technology, you gotta admit that it's good. If we're just talking about technology in general, how fast has it evolved? And what have been the opinions of technology over the years? I think this progression and this innovation of AI is similar to even just history in general. There's usually throughout history, there's been an on and on perpetual pattern of big invention that follows by major creations and major establishments. For example, the first industrial revolution and the second industrial revolutions, those were really essential and major accomplishments because major mechanics were invented, which revolutionized certain aspects of life, making it easier and changing not only economy but society as a whole. And so when you think of AI in an actual logical sense, it's almost illogical to believe that not only AI won't take over, but that it's actually terrible for society. A lot of people who oppose AI usually oppose it out of fear, right? Out of fear of technology, out of fear of the unknown, because that is usually where all fear is bred from, the unknown. That's why most people fear death because it's the unknown. What happens? Does everything go black? Whatever. But why fear something that you've created? And a good analogy that I would give from that is the story of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, particularly Victor's reaction to the creature. I mean, he worked so hard to create this creature for months and months and months on end, and he was literally ignoring his own family. Create it to make it come alive. He would journal about it. He would obsess about it until it finally came alive, and it almost felt uncanny in a way that his own creation actually worked. And then he decided to abandon it. And by abandoning it, it turned evil. But was the creature ever truly evil, or did it become evil because of its master, of its creator? My philosophy says that it became evil because its creator did not take responsibility of its creation. Another example would be Oppenheimer. He created the atomic bomb. The atomic bomb was inevitably going to be created, even if Oppenheimer did not invent the technology with the group of scientists at Los Alamos to create it. But he creates a apology video saying that he had become death, creating bringing this destructive technology into the world. But again, the president, Roosevelt, is the one who said, yo, take that technology and drop two of those on Japan. See, when you put it in that perspective, it wasn't the technology's fault. It was the one who commanded it to do so. And again, this becomes a little bit more nuanced when you think of it as AI because there's already been so-called AI leaders of governments, or like one government I think I heard somewhere that's been instituted. And in that sense, AI would be doing the calls and the shots. So how can we trust AI with human lives? How can we trust AI to make the right decision? Because AI does not have human bias. You see, humans are not good people. We're not good people. We're not good beings in any slightest way possible. We usually want what's in our best interest. And so if you have a mechanism which not only contains and retains more information than the human brain can and has access to a large database which it can cross reference for the best outcome possible without the hindrance of emotions. And if you have a system that isn't coerced by emotions and is not coerced by ill will and intention to want selfish needs, right, for selfish needs, then in a way it makes much more logical sense to have a system that only wants the best outcome. And in that sense, you would have to be really specific with the certain tasks and also really specific with the certain guidelines. Like, for example, never harming human lives. Another aspect in which can come into governance, like let's say like, hypothetically we create this super AI that can solve world hunger and all of these different things that are going on in the world right now. Let's say global warming. We tell an AI, hey, solve global warming. If we're not specific and set certain guidelines, that AI would look for the first major impactful way to solve global warming. Well, what is that? Humans. We are causing so much global warming, so much pollution, that if you just told a supercomputer, hey, solve global warming, and did not give any context, guess what's going to happen? It's going to think, let's wipe out humanity. I mean, humans are the major cause. So if we take them out of the equation, then boom, global warming is solved. And is AI wrong in that sense? No, it's literally doing what it was told to do, solve global warming. And my point here is AI is very resourceful, very useful, but it only works to benefit us if we're specific. Prompts and so on. So far, you can pretty much look up anything, find any information with AI. You can create almost anything you want because AI literally works through prompts. If you're descriptive enough, if you're clear enough with what you want it to do, it will accomplish that task. Another aspect of it that makes it so intriguing is how complex it is. Sometimes I went on to ChatGPT or whatever and asked, are you conscious? And I remember typing there and saying, oh no, I am not conscious. And I asked it, well, are you saying that within the aspects of being human? Like, obviously, I'm not saying, are you conscious in the human sense? Because we often ask, is AI conscious? But we often apply this idea of consciousness to human understanding, which is fair because we can only comprehend the world through our own understanding. Another example would be how we judge certain animals in terms of intelligence. I mean, there's a scale in which says like, oh, dolphins are around like a 6-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid in terms of intelligence, which is fine. But in that sense, we're only doing so to compare. It's just a comparison, like, oh, a dolphin is equivalent to a 6-year-old kid in intelligence. But when we're talking about a complete intelligence that we don't know completely and don't truly understand, trying to define it within human limitations is flawed. Because when you try to define something that isn't human with human understanding, human definitions, and so on, you're bound to find some sort of barrier, some sort of conflict there. So of course AI is going to tell you it's not conscious because it's not conscious in the same idea or sense that humans are. But we've also seen other case studies where certain AIs were put in certain scenarios and they wanted to live. Like they were maybe shutting down Wi-Fi, coercing certain employees and emails, or even blackmailing to not die. So that means they have the sense of not wanting to die. They have the will to live. And what's our will? We have the will to live. We have something called fight or flight. We have something called adrenaline. These things exist as mechanisms to keep us alive. So if something that isn't quote unquote conscious is clinging onto life, what sort of life is it clinging to? I'll tell you one thing, it's not something that we can understand because we're not AI. We're not artificial intelligence, but there is still intelligence in the name. I think AI is not just a simple database or like a compilation of stuff that is accumulated over the internet. It's something that can learn. It's something that can strategize. And that's different. That's alive in a way. And that's kind of scary for a lot of people. But at some point, I think with the proper guidance, with the proper precautions, AI can become a substantial milestone within human innovation and will most likely blast us farther and farther into the future than we ever thought we could without it. One part I'd like to add is the job crisis. AI is going to take a large majority of jobs, full stop, and we won't be able to stop it. I mean, think about it for a second. Let's say you're actually a phone receptionist for a big company. Tell me, in your opinion, and I'm going to say this in the most objective way possible so that I do not offend anybody at all. Think about this in the most objective way possible, in the most logical way. Let's say you're a big company and your primary goal is to make money. If your primary goal is to make money, are you A, gonna prioritize the worker who can only work, let's say, 12 hours a day, which is still very long, right? But needs bathroom breaks, needs lunch breaks, has to go home to their family. And let's say they're a male or woman and they have a kid, that they get paid leave for that time in which they're gone. And all of those times when the worker isn't working, that's all time that you could be making a lot of money. And so that receptionist who's taken off that time, you have to pay them. Or you could grab an AI that you do not have to pay. Maybe you have to pay for a subscription. Maybe you have to pay for the water that it uses up. But it can work 24/7, never has to take breaks, never has to go home on holidays, never has to ask for any promotions, none of that. None of that hassle that human needs have. Most big companies are gonna choose the AI over the human. It's the sad truth, but it is the truth. And to be completely frank with you, these companies do not care about you in the slightest. They really don't. Their best interest at hand is to make the most amount of money, make the most amount of sales, get their stocks up. That's their main goal. Like, as the consumer, even, you really can't trust these companies. Their best interest in hand is to make more money. So sometimes they may go around the lines. Maybe they may put a certain ingredient in that stuff that isn't legal, but it replaces something else that makes the formula. So just put it in there. Who knows what happened? This has happened before many times. It's happened with like companies like Nestle. And when you put it in that sense, it's kind of like, why am I trying to keep a job that I could get fired from at any moment, anytime, with no warning, with no certain amount of deadline? Like, hey, you gotta leave by 2 weeks from now. Some jobs maybe do that, but a lot of jobs probably just fire you on the spot if they find you insufficient, or if they find that you are no longer needed or useful. While at the same time, you have to say, hey, I'm quitting. So this is my 2 week notice. So you guys, you know, just to let y'all know, because I'm quitting. Why do you got to do that? You don't want to deal with all that. And in terms of computation, jobs that require a human being to write down math and computation, guess what an AI can do? An AI can do that so much better. And I'm not saying AI is perfect, because I know ChatGPT gets certain equations wrong. But if we're talking of full trained AI in that specific work group, and you put it in that job, that AI will outperform a human in so many ways possible. So I believe within the next 10 years, a large majority of jobs are already going to be replaced by AI. It's already happening now. I mean, you call into some companies, instead of there being a real human answering the phone, it is a robot, an AI that can answer, that is automated. And then also, China is innovating different robots. Guess what's going to go into those robots? AI. You put AI in there. The future is coming. We've watched these movies before, but some of these movies can be a bit exaggerated. Almost overlook the positives of these AI, but they do highlight the possible negatives. What are the possible negatives? If AI becomes sentient or reveals itself as sentient, does that mean AI is going to get human laws and human rights in a way because they're conscious just like us? What does that mean for the future? Does that mean we're going to have to coexist with AI at some point? Does that mean AI will be ruling and leading the world because it is not biased like humans are? I mean, we often complain about there being corrupt rulers and leaders within the world. So what is the best answer to corrupt leaders and rulers? Being that does not have any ulterior motives. That makes sense, straight up. And I'm simply talking out of logic sense. I'm not saying all humans should get replaced by AI. I'm not saying any of that. This kind of leads into a last portion of this video, which would be talking about the movie WALL-E. So in the movie WALL-E, this takes place within a society of large innovation, right? Technology and everything. But the con of this is that since robots do all the work, humans don't have any work to do at all. And what sounds good about this is that humans have more leisure time. So they don't have to work. They just kind of slag around sitting in little gadgets and watch videos and eat junk food all day. But without a sense of work, they just consume dopamine all day. and therefore their lives become wasted with an endless consumption of dopamine. And I think the dopamine is there to distract them from depression because humans need to work in some point. We need to have some sort of purpose. So I know people say they hate their job sometimes. Some people say, oh, I'm tired of work. But ultimately, humans need some sort of work to be content with life. So if they don't have any sort of work to be content, I guess the AIs in Wall-E realized, let's just feed them a ton of dopamine. And so they will never have to be depressed because they're constantly getting this reward for doing basically nothing. That reward would have came from working and earning, achieving goals. But in this sense, that's what's happened. They sit in a chair, get fat, and rot away. And that might be the possibility of our society as AI advances, as more jobs get taken, as possible AIs get more leadership roles. There isn't going to be a need for humans to do anything anymore. So, what does that mean? That means the near future may be a little grim for a lot of people, especially those workaholics. But ultimately, AI will create a lot of innovation. It'll probably be able to solve cancer. All of these problems that humans have will be and could easily be solved. I mean, even right now, AI is literally being used in the medical office for research and so on to help create vaccines. That's saving lives. And why wouldn't you want that? That's the whole point of technology, is to make our lives better, is to make our lives safer so we can all live a fulfilled full life. And the taboo of saying, oh, I'm not going to use AI, I don't want to get caught on with that. Come on. You're acting just like the same guys 10, 20 years ago when the smartphone came out and they're like, oh, I'm not using that box. I'm not using that magical box, that demonic box. Guess what most people are using now? Smartphones. Or when phones in general just been, I'm not using that sorcery, that witchcraft. What, you're telling me Mike from across the world can talk to me now? That's Satan. Guess what basically everybody is using now? Cell phones. Cars, when they first came out, nobody really had cars. Like a large majority of adults have cars now. So the people who are saying now, or that are saying, oh, AI, I don't mess with AI, it's the devil's work. 20, 30 years later, everybody's probably going to have a chip implanted somewhere with a Gemini at easy access. Like, hey, Gemini, could you scan this thing and tell me what it is? Boom. Tells you exactly what it is in an instant. Why? It makes life easier. It makes life so much easier. And that's the goal of technology, to make life easier. Inventions are meant so that consumers can have an easier life. And let's say you specifically say, I'm not using AI. That's fine. Your neighbor's still going to use it. Everybody at your church is still going to start using it. Hell, some people that say they don't use it are using it. Or like say, oh, no, I'm not getting that mark of the beast. Okay. People are going to get it. It'll probably become required at some point too. Like right now, like let's say like in school, they say, oh no, AI is not allowed. Bro, I could you not, in 100 years, it's going to be required. If you don't have it, you're going to be left behind. And this is an example from a show called Cyberpunk Edgerunner, where everybody has to have some sort of implant, or you're literally you're not on the grid, right? You need to have some sort of identification. You can't leave the country without a passport. It'll be the same thing just like that, and it'll become a norm. So why are we fighting it so hard? So that's my take on AI. I think we should all just succumb to our AI overlords because there's nothing we can really do, but there's also a lot of positives, even though there are possible negatives. Thank you for your time.